Stand by for action.
Thanks for joining me. My name is Dave Miller. I am the Unpleasant Blind Guy. The Way Back Commentaries with the Reverend Michael E. Jones, the underground professor, continues with content and study suggestions and other issues surrounding the Way Back.
Now, if I was to pick a book from modernity, it would be something like the Capitalist Manifesto by Gary Wolfram, who's a professor at Hillsdale College. And he talks about how capitalism does work and is an argument, and it's in a concise little paperback book. As a matter of fact, I can reach it, I hope, without everything falling over. Here it is, I'm putting it on Periscope for you to see. And it's kind of like a refutal to the Communist Manifesto, right? But it's understanding the market economy and defending liberty. Now, that's the concepts of things that I look for. It explains the economy, which is one of the things that we really didn't include in any of our lists, is economics. We did politics, we did freedom, we did republic, but we didn't stick economics in there. And now we could have added Adam Smith, but that's a tune that you can use to hold open the door to an Abrams tank. And
that's where Atlas Shrugged comes in. Yeah.
Yes, Atlas Shrugged does do that. But there's a lot of people have a lot of problems with Ayn Rand and her books. I don't personally, but I think they're great for what they do. But as far as a pure book on defending capitalism, I've seen many that say that's what they're doing. This is the only one that I've seen that actually does it, and it goes through and lists examples. And it's a great little way of introducing the concepts of capitalism and economics and why it works, and refutes those examples that are often used by the left in showing why it doesn't work. When using it, the people like Sanders and those guys. This is a great refutation of it. And face it, if the country falls, then capitalism's over, and we'll be slaves, and we'll be in a slave economy again, not a capitalist economy.
Right. Yeah. It'll be a collective state of some sort, certainly.
Right. A theocracy.
And what the one honestly, I can't think of a lot of books written in modernity that go along with what you're talking about. And honestly, I think you are correct that we won't need books and at that future time that throw tomatoes at the government, because there are already going to be tomatoes being thrown at the government, rotten tomatoes. We'll need books that actually offer solutions, and not just that talk about old problems, stuff that happened as far as those people are going to be concerned in their great grandfathers' times. What I was thinking of, as far as a modern book goes, would be something like The Road to Serfdom. That's by F.A. Hayek.
Yes, that's another one I was going to mention too. So yeah, anything Hayek wrote, or Thomas Sowell or Walter E. Williams.
Right. Books that as you say, Prof, books that offer frameworks in good arguments as to why, for instance, capitalism is the best economic system for the people, as opposed to collective systems, which always seem to support a well-moneyed ruling class on the backs of a very large working class. Books of that nature that are actually of some use. So I see what you're saying when you don't. When you're talking about not putting in books by Limbaugh and Beck and people like that. And people might do that just because they happen to be fans of theirs. I personally don't think that would be of any use, and personally, but I hesitate to tell people not to include things, or if they do include them, I would say that they might want to put in a preface of their own, tuck a piece of paper in there or something like that says something along the lines of, all right, this book was written by Ann Coulter in the year, let's say 2010, and it regards the political situation in the United States of America and the world as of that year. And that way people will know that it was something that was written relevant to that time and to that time only. Again, this is something that the future founders are they might glance at it, but I think they're going to get a lot more use out of, for instance, the book that you talked about, the civics book that you referred to. They're going to get a lot more use out of that, and they're going to get a lot more use out of the anti-federalist papers. That's just my opinion. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. There's actually no book I would ban, but
right.
There are books that I would put, you got to create triage here. You got to decide what's worth having, what's worth spending our time and money on. And anybody could pick anything and do that, and I wouldn't say that's wrong. But, because everything we had that we can add to culture and to society and information is worth it. But we're looking at the angle from this show as an angle of how to reconstruct a society and recreate civil society with capitalist and Republican ideals. And so that's the angle that I looked at on what would I include, what would I have, because there are fantastic books. The Constitutional Reader from Hillsdale's one, but there's all these great books like Friends of Liberty by Nash and Hodges would be great. All the James Bond books would be great. But
well,
but
what
there
about
are things that lead and help and things that would be nice, but after civil society's picked up.
Well, yes. One that I'm thinking of. What about the minutes to the Constitutional Convention?
Yes. Didn't we say that? I thought we did say that. Because the debates on the Constitution, the Federalist Papers, Anti-Federalist Papers, you have to have all of those.
Yes, I did put in the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers, but not the actual minutes as recorded during the debates. I think that would be very helpful. That would be something else to throw in. So yes, and you bring up a great point. I say be individualistic in your choices, but also realize that it's a lot easier to hide something that's more or less a few feet square than it is to hide something that's the size of a room. If it comes to a point where you have to hide something, so that's why your selection of materials might have to be rather small because that's easier to conceal. And as I said, future governments that are going to be very totalitarian, it's going to be a lot easier for them to find a book collection that's the size of a refrigerator than it is to find one that's the size of say a bread maker. So,
yeah, if they get to my house, the book burning will probably be able to be seen from the moon.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like I've got over 5,000 books here.
Well, they'd have to bring the salamander to your place. That's, by the way, for people who aren't familiar what that is, that's the fire engine, the literally fire engine from Fahrenheit 451.
Right.
Yeah,
that blows off the fire and the hose.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. That I think it was like fueled by kerosene. And yeah, it's a big fire truck, and everybody rides on the thing and all that, But then they get off and pull out the hose and everything, and just blast all the books in the house, and then blast the house. So
for good measure.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, can't have a house around where there've been all these nasty books with these unapproved ideas inside. Come on. But yeah, I mean the the choices are going to have to be individual, but I think we both offered some good choices, and it's something that people can do moving forward if they I like to tell people you're never powerless. There is something that you can do, and if nothing else, you can do this. And I mean, there are going to be plenty of people who are going to be involved in the more kinetic versions of revolution in the coming generations. That's going to happen as well. But I would say that in his way, Thomas Paine was every bit as important as George Washington.
Yeah, they all had their roles. You remember I did a few shows where I called it the Indispensable Man series, and I pointed out that, Franklin was the indispensable man, Washington was the indispensable man. And without any of them, I don't think we'd have become a country, because it took what they did to push the country. Paine, if it wasn't for common sense, then Washington's army would have been so demoralized. Who knows? We might not have had the victories that came after that. And so there's all these different people had all these different roles, and I think if you take any one of them away, then we might not be standing here today free, or whatever we are standing here today as.
Well, I think you're right. And I think that anybody listening to this might be thinking, well, okay, I'm just a homemaker. I'm just a 40-year-old homemaker that, yeah, sure, I graduated high school, but I can't go out and give speeches, and I don't have a lot of money to go out to rallies, or I don't have it. I just don't have it in me to run for office and be successful. So I don't feel that there's anything that I can do. And the fact is, yes, you can. There are things that you can do that if will not bear fruit today, they could bear fruit in a time yet to come. And I think that's important, because another thing that we'll have to do in the years ahead is we'll have to keep our spirits up, and that's going to include bringing everyone in on the revolution, just as all of us are part of the militia of the United States of America, and that's why we have the Second Amendment. You could say that all of the people will be the Minutemen of the new revolution, even if all they do in their lifetimes is gather together the materials and teach what they can, and then pass those on. After they're gone, it'll be their kids' turn and their kids' turn after that. There are, there are probably at this point billions of people throughout history that we'll never know. Each of them in their day did what they could to move people towards personal liberty. They knew what the goal was, and they knew they'd never see it in their lifetimes. But in their day, they did their little bit, whatever it was, to move us to the point where we started the American Republic. We'll never know those people, but I'm eternally grateful to them, all of them, for what they did, and I'm perfectly content at this stage to die and be forgotten, as long as some people use the idea that I've thrown out there and pass it on and do something and maybe relieve some suffering for a generation or two of people in the future. You may not be recognized. Your name may not be in the history books. In fact, it probably won't. But you'll know it, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you think of that?
Now, you think about that. Of all the people that have died, how many people are still remembered by most people? Outside of a handful of presidents and serial killers, not very many. But their concepts, their ideas, their fights lived on. And what you described would have described most of this country for most of their lives. They spent teaching the value of freedom and liberty and the limited government. And it is only, there's one less fly in this world. Call PETA. Oh, man. Sorry.
Wait a minute, now that might be Kelly's
I left the
fly.
back door open,
okay.
and I got like 5 flies in here now coming from the back door. But you're right. Now, it wasn't until the welfare state was created that paradigm shifted, and that now we have 40-50%. Somewhere I saw a statistic that 53% of the country still works, and the rest are on welfare. So, there's a little over half of us are still promoting liberty and freedom, and the other half are promoting, cradle to grave government comfort. And I'd imagine that there's not even half of those people still promoting freedom. There's probably a lot of them that are willing to give up any time now because they're just tired of feeding and funding independence off of their paycheck that they have never met or heard of, and which is exactly what we're doing. But yes, for the future, you never know. I think back on those shows I've done where I've said something and then I've gotten a message back. One in particular that still chills me. I talked about when I was severely crippled, and I go after things like doctor-assisted suicide. And I was actually in a position where I considered that. And then I considered my own suicide, forget the doctor. And I discussed with the audience what I had gone through with that. And, it was a completely vulnerable thing to do and say, and I don't even know why I did it, but I felt compelled to do it, so I did. And then I got an email back that there was somebody on her bed, and she turned on the computer for background noise on Blog Talk and randomly selected a show, and it was mine. She'd never heard it, and she heard my show, and it saved her life. And so you don't know who's hearing you when you teach or talk sometimes, like you're doing it over the radio. But your message may not even affect those that are your primary audience, people that are listening to you, but they might go out and say something and it affects somebody that makes a difference. And so, just because you don't think you're being effective or that the world will know who you are in the future is a reason not to push this or to do it or, to protect your freedom now.
Right. You do it because you know it's right. It's just like I don't know. You've used this example yourself. It's just like a cashier gives you too much change. Well, you can just walk off, but you don't. You go back in and you go, hey, you gave me $1 too much here. Does it change the world? No, it doesn't. But you did it because it's the right thing to do.
It's funny you bring up that example, Ag, because I've had a lot of people tell me that story has made them feel guilty, and when they go out and do stuff, and they're like, "Oh crap, the professor told that story." And, I think that's funny.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. It's what people and this is a problem I think with our culture, and who knows, this could even be intentional on the part of the Fabian socialists. That somehow every person deserves to have their name up in lights. They deserve to be recognized nationally and internationally for what they do, and they deserve to be remembered until the end of time. And it's usually for nothing, and that's why you have people. That's why you get kids on YouTube spraying themselves in the face with bear mace. Which, if you've never watched any of those videos, that's just funny as anything. But what young people aren't being taught today is that recognition only has to come from within, and from God. And if you know it, then God knows it, and you're cool. You don't have to have recognition from your peers, your friends, your family. Almost nobody in my family listens to my show. You don't have to have any of that as long as you know that you've done it and you've done what you've done for good reasons, because it's the right thing to do. This is a message that isn't being given enough to young people. In fact, the opposite message is being given to them. And that if you talk to some of these psychologists out there about some of the mass shooters, they say, well, that's the reason that they go out and do this, because they know they're going to get like maybe a day's coverage on the national news. Never mind the other implications. They're going to be famous and they're going to be recognized and people are going to know their names. Now, of course, that has pervaded our culture so much now that people do these horrible things, and 2 weeks later we forget who they were. So it's beginning to have an opposite effect. But if you can teach the young that their own deeds, their own works, if recognized by themselves, are going to be enough, then you'll have people that are prepared to do the right thing just because it's right, not necessarily because they're going to get any kind of recognition. I mean, God, you and Ken blow me away in the ratings, but I still do my stupid little show because I know it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I only have tens of listeners.
Well, you got more than you think.
Yeah, I'm with you also on family. My parents look at me like I've grown a third eye when I ask if they've heard my show. None of my family, I think, listens to me anymore. Every now and then God's Girl does, and once in a blue moon, my oldest daughter tunes in to hear. But the problem is with family is they're too close to you. They think they already know everything you're going to say, and that you're crazy. So why bother wasting the time listening? And same with coworkers and things. They think they know you. But that's the way that is. That's the way that is. Now, go ahead.
No. Go on.
Oh, I was going to say, but the important thing is what we're doing now is encapsulated digitally. And so our shows are being captured, they're being preserved electronically. And so as long as we have, internet and Wi-Fi's and computer systems and, as long as the world doesn't end with EMP strikes, then those things should be around and accessible. But what we're talking about is if something like that does happen, if the Muslims decide that Muhammad didn't have electricity, so no one will, and they turn it all off, then where will you get this information? And this is what started our conversation about this, and where you go, and this is why we've been doing this series, I think, anyway.
That is it in part. Certainly we can use the internet for as long as we're able, and then I know that I save my shows to CD, to DVD once in a while, and just to make sure that they're preserved in that way. And I think other people who host their own podcasts should do the same thing. If nothing else, the DVD can be copied and shared out. But what the series does, what the Way Back does, whether it's in a series or you listen to the whole bloody thing, the whole 34 minutes of it, is it points out that if the internet is somehow shut off to people like us, that isn't the end of the story, and it doesn't have to be the end of the story. We can continue on with other ways, other means, other methods, and the message can be brought forth, and it will be. But, of course, for now, while we have this resource, we'll use it as much as possible and clue in as many people as we possibly can to how to do these things, because it's important to do that. Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm trying to create underground professors and professorettes.
Well, there you go.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not trying to create unpleasant blind guys, because my blindness is hereditary, so I decided on not doing that myself. But certainly, if I can, I want to create people who question everything, including me.
Exactly.
I want to create critical thinkers because our society is certainly not doing that. Our society is creating people who think the way that society tells them to, and if they deviate from that, then they're called haters or racist or Islamophobes or whatever new buzzword that the political elites can have their social scientists come up with to make a person feel bad that they're actually questioning the government or the media or anything else.
Yes. The way back, I think, is absolutely well named, and it's sad because you would think, Agador, we see the writing on the wall, we see what's coming, and it would seem to me so much easier to save it than to have to rebuild it and recreate it. But
yes.
It really doesn't turn out that way, does it?
No, it doesn't. And I'll tell you something. I'll give you the genesis of the title of it. There was a science fiction program in the late 1970s in the UK called Blake 7, and the first episode of that was called The Way Back. And very briefly, it was about a man who was a revolutionary, who was fighting against a repressive government, oddly enough called the Federation, and he was convicted not of political crimes, but he was convicted of child molestation, and he was sent off to a prison planet. And at the end of, and of course the thing is entitled The Way Back. But at the end of this first episode, he's looking out a porthole at the Earth shrinking away, and a guard comes along and says, "Take a good look at it. That's the last you'll see of Earth." And Blake looks at the guy and says, "No, I'm coming back." So that's the genesis of the title.
I think I've heard that show. What's the name of it again?
Blake's 7. It only got a bit of play over here on PBS stations. It was, there were the same complaints about it that there were about the old Doctor Who, cheesy special effects and all that stuff.
Right.
But the storylines were pretty good. And I never forgot the title of the original first Blake's 7 episode. And when I began thinking about all of this, encapsulating it all into something that I would like to see, into a return to a time when the people ran the government instead of the other way around. Well, how the heck do we do that? How the heck do we get to, let's say, 1960 America, only this time without, the racial BS, where black people are ostracized from certain places and all the other, indignities and iniquities. How do we get to that point? How do we get back to that? And that's when the title of that particular show came to me. How do we find the way back? So there we are. And I think, I hope at least that I've given it a start. And as I got to say again, Prof. I've said it before, but it bears saying again since we've got 15 minutes left here. That I appreciate your spending all the time on your great show, kind of throwing in your thoughts, which have been really valuable, and have just enhanced the whole thing. And I'll be doing this. I'll say this now. I'll pick someone each year, and if who's doing a podcast, and if they want to do this, then I'll go to their show each year, and we'll talk about this. to kind of enhance it, and they can add their ideas just as you've added your ideas, and their audiences, just like your audience, can consider all this and maybe begin making preparations of their own.
Yeah, that would be good. Or letting us know the things they would include in a what do they call those things when they stick them in the ground? A time vault.
Yeah, time vault, time capsule, Liberty box, freedom box, whatever you want to call it.
There you go, Liberty box. I think we can call it here at. Yep.
There you go.
Former resistance leader Raj Blake witnesses a massacre and is subsequently framed for a series of fictional crimes by a totalitarian federation. The way back.
There you go. That's it. Yes.
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 Go ahead.
Oh no. I was waiting for you.
Oh, I was just reading a comment in the. I pointed out that Ken was the size he was because he ate his twin in the womb, and Cal was commenting on that.
Oh,
okay. I was thinking more of the concept like from the Venture Brothers, though.
Oh, okay.
But yes,
it's odd. Well, Dr. Venture just kind of creates those every time they fall apart. But I think you stumbled onto the secret as to why Ken is so smart. Because he has two people's intellects inside there.
Right. Well, Dr. Rusty Venture was a twin, and he ate most of the other ones. So, yeah.
Right.
But yep, that's why he's smart. But so, well, there you go. That's our Way Back series, and I encourage other hosts. I'm sorry, it's very distracting, but Dog has Mandy Sue trapped under a chair in their plane, and I'm always nervous. Yes, you're a good dog.
I'll tell you this, Prop. While you're sorting out the dogs, the whole 34-minute the Way Back, as I'm going to present it from now on, at least in long form, is now available on the Unpleasant Blind Guy YouTube page. That's not the SHR Media one. This is my own YouTube page. And if people want to go up there and get that, they can. I encourage them to download it and share it. And yes, if you use it on a show, I'd appreciate proper credit. But but spreading it is the most important thing. So please do that if you would like to do it.
Yes, highly encourage that. Any feedback, your own thoughts? If you want to do this, you want to get on, you want to add on, or you're a host and you want Agador or me or both to come on your show and talk about it, then we are both willing, I'm sure.
Oh, I appreciate that, Prof. Really do.
And start lining up to be the one that gets it next year. So, there you go. Any parting thoughts you want to do on that? Summations?
Well, the only parting thought that I have is that I appreciate everyone that is spreading it around and will spread it around. The people that listen to my stuff mean a lot to me. But this message, frankly, if I were to get run over by a bus tomorrow, this would be the one thing that I would want people to remember, to remember me for as long as anybody remembers me. And even if they stop remembering me, they should remember the message. And I appreciate I appreciate it, Prof. Thank you very much. Those really are my thoughts. And with that, Prof, I think I'll turn it back to you. And thanks again.
All right. Cal says, way to go, Agadorable.
Thank you, EBA. I so appreciate it.
Yes. How is G-Ski doing?
Now, Sue from New Mexico reports that G-Ski is doing fine. She spoke with him a few days ago, and he seems to be fine. And he very much appreciates everybody's prayers and thoughts on his behalf. He's working on his music right now with his son, and of course he puts out some very good hip hop, and a lot of times that has a little message in it. And I can't wait to hear his stuff. So G-Ski, if you're listening out there, bro, we're thinking about you. God love. And, hey, start sharing the love, man. You guys get some tracks done. Do share.
Yeah, we'll play them. Especially when
Absolutely.
Mary's not here. We can play rap when Mary's not here.
That we can.
Yeah, I've noticed there's a lot more Christian rap out there, growing and growing as a medium. The audience is receptive to it. So
there you go.
There are all kinds of ways of doing this, but there is a rapper out there that's been giving Obama hell, I have that somewhere on some tab somewhere. I will find that and try and add that to tomorrow's show.
Very cool. Yeah,
of course,
that's cool.
Yeah, we've got our
Well,
Columbus
G-Ski,
Day special tomorrow. What's that?
Yeah. Oh no, go ahead. I was just going to say there's G-Ski, there's High Caliber, there's several good ones, and that's another way to teach, by the way. But go ahead, Prof.
Yes. Oh yeah, I'll try and find that rap thing on Obama. So I guess we'll leave it at that. Okay, and so that's it. Agador stuff you can get on YouTube at the Unpleasant Blind Guy. You can find his stuff at Pundit Press and where else, Ag?
Well, that's again YouTube, Pundit Press, the SHR Media YouTube page as well, and I'm thinking about expanding out to other media. So just stand by for action as always. And thank you, Prof.
Yes, sir. Everybody, that is the Unpleasant Blind Guy. Thank you, everybody, for your compliments and comments in the chat rooms and on Periscope as well. And so, yes, there you go. I guess that sums everything up. And you're not going to want to miss any of the shows next week. As long as I don't miss them, you're not going to want to miss them. I think you're going to find some neat stuff. I'm going to be hitting the Constitution from other perspectives. That'll primarily be the shows on Tuesday and Thursday, Friday are the themes for those shows. So there you go. I think you're going to find these to be really neat. I don't know how to explain it without allowing you to get ahead of me, and I don't want you to go get ahead of me on these. I want it to lay it out so that you can see it and then get your reactions to it at the time. But it will be constitutional, but not the Constitution. We'll be looking at it from other perspectives, from external perspectives, if you will. And I guess that's that. I will say good night and see everybody here tomorrow, Monday, 7 p.m. Central Texas time. And I guess I think that's everything. So with this, I'll boogie woogie out of here.
Man from out Chicago way. He had a boogie style that no one else could play. He was the top man at his class. But then his number came up and he was gone with the draft. He's in the army now, a blowing reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. They made him blow a bugle for his Uncle Sam. It really brought him down because he couldn't jam. The captain seemed to understand. Because the next day the cat went out and drafted a band. And now the company jumps when he plays reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. A toot, a toot, a toot-a-da, toot, he blows it eight to the bar. In boogie rhythm, he can't blow a note unless the bass and guitar is playing rhythm. He makes the company jump when he plays reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. He was the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. And when he played boogie woogie bugle, he was busy as a blues bee. And when he plays, he makes the company jump eight to the bar. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. Toot-toot-toot-toot-da-da, toot-toot-da-da, toot-toot, he blows it eight to the bar. You can't blow a note if the bass and guitar isn't with the company jumps when he plays reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. He puts the boys to sleep with boogie every night and wakes wakes them up the same way in the early bright. They clap their hands and stamp their feet, because they know how he plays. When someone gives him a beat, he really breaks it up. When he plays reveille, he is the boogie woogie bugle boy of company.
Those were the Boogie Woogie Boys, Agador and the Underground Professor, both sitting high atop a double rainbow, gaily swinging our feet over the Hermitage of North Texas's liberal conservative studies. This has been copyrighted in the year of your Lord 2015, via Concarne for the Agadorable fans and via Contoodles for mine.
That's it for this time. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for listening, and may your God go with you. Goodbye. The Unpleasant Blind Guy is copyright 2015, Anno Domini. Now for Dave's Canes. Extras that help you navigate the new media world.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny, on shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday, live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider
the
thingies. Those
what?
Things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. Damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wednesday on shrmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you go.
Against tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires, due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network, to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.